And we are on. Hello and welcome to Sports Unhinged. We are back. My name is Mohammed Khamis. I'm joined by Yujita, Coach Bartlett, and Mark Sherman. Week 1 is in the books, folks. What a week it's been. Week 1 is also known as the place where preseason takes go to die. We had a terrible showing in week 1. Our Bills, which is a unanimous Super Bowl pick, at least amongst the three of us that were there last week, had a terrible show out. The Titans, Coach, I believe that's your Super Bowl pick. They didn't look too good either.
Great.
But we got cracking with an unbelievable game Thursday night, Dallas Cowboys at Tampa Bay. If that game didn't get you excited about football, I don't know what will. It had everything. It had two quarterbacks at their best, just fighting it out mano a mano. It had missed field goals. It had questionable refereeing decisions. We could argue. We'll go into that in a little bit. Now, in football, we question a lot of decision making, right? So we question the Chicago Bears. Why do they keep starting Andy Dalton when they have Justin Fields on the bench? We question the Cleveland Browns punter. Why does he have his hair so long? And what was he thinking when he dropped that ball? But as long as we're talking about questionable decision making, Coach, you made the decision to marry a Dallas Cowboys fan. So let me direct the first question over to you. Cowboys at Tampa Bay. Did Tampa win this game? Did the Cowboys lose it? Or was it an interference from the referees to decide that game?
Oh, I think you should always ask the person who they're rooting for before you marry them. And I've learned that the hard way, living with this 24/7. However, I will say, look, probably a combination of all three, to be honest. I'm curious what this game shows more about, Dallas or Tampa, to be honest, if I'm being honest twice now. I think that there was some really, really poor decision-making throughout the game on both sides. I mean, why do you only target Mike Evans 6 times throughout the whole game? I also could say that, one fumble from Ronald Jones Jr., and you just, not only do you not run the ball that much anymore till the fourth quarter, you don't let him back in the game. And you've paid him a lot of money to do that, and have even come out now this week saying, oh, he's our starter, he's our guy. I question that, but on the flip side, my goodness, how good did Dallas look that we weren't expecting?
Dak Prescott answered a lot of questions, right? I mean, about his injury, about how bad his ankle is or his shoulder, and he looked incredible. 403 pass yards, 3 touchdowns. The interception was pretty much a drop by CD Lamb, but he had 58 pass attempts and completed 42 of them. So he looked really good.
Yeah, I thought he managed the game well also. A stat I look up, by the way, shout out to my statistician, Jeb Bartlett. He was awesome today for me. Can I say that Tampa played really good defensively against Dallas on first and second down? They forced them into 17 third downs. 17. Right. Now, the problem was Dallas made 9 of those, and 8 of the 9 were on the pass. So it definitely wasn't the rushing issue. Zeke had 11 carries? Did he even have 40? Did he have 40 yards? 35 yards, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
So I don't know. I think there was more glee in my home on a Dallas loss than there's been in a while. Mainly from me, because there was glee that they lost. But I think, look, the future's pretty bright for those guys.
Is there such a thing as a moral victory in football? I'm not sure. Here's an interesting one, though. Tom Brady is now 15-4 in his career record in week 1. Tampa Bay are 8-0 in every game that Gronk has received at least 1 touchdown pass. So they're looking real good. It's the old guys, the guys that are supposed to be retired by now, and they're the ones that are delivering nonstop.
Well, I think Tampa's offense is just picked right back up where they were those last 7-8 games of last year.
He's got so many weapons on offense as well.
Yeah. Hey, well, he better, because he's about to visit a defense that can play. Dallas, not so much, but he's got one coming up this week. He better strap it up, because those boys can play in the Los Angeles Rams.
Brady looks more comfortable now in Tampa, more than he did last year, at least in this first game. That's what I saw. I think he has a better relationship with the OC.
Right. Right.
I think it's
No,
his,
but Tom Brady,
I
I
think
mean,
it's his team.
what's
Tampa,
I
that?
think so.
Tampa is Brady's team. He's doing with it what he's always wanted to do, which is run it. And I don't think he was ever allowed to do that in New England. Look, you can't argue against the record in New England. You can't. But I think he's got a lot more freedom in Tampa than he
That's right. Yeah.
ever had in Foxborough.
And he can still make those long passes. I think he was 7 out of 10 when passing for more than 15 yards downfield. He looked incredible. Now, the question that I have is obviously there was the play right at the end with 18 seconds left that led to the field goal that ended up winning it all. Godwin receiving the ball with 18 seconds against the cornerback Lewis of Dallas Cowboys. Was that a pass interference?
But if you're asking me, yes, definitely. I think I even said it on the night. Right. Anytime you extend I think the burden of proof on the referee, or how they say it on TV, is if you extend your arm into the defender, that's you making the contact. And he definitely did, and he gained an advantage on that particular play.
But do you think the quarterback,
it wasn't called?
Do you think the quarterback kind of oversold it? There was a bit of a flop going on, a bit of a dramatic fall after that extension of the arm.
Oh, yeah, the cornerbacks are good actors. But it still doesn't diminish the fact that I believe it was pass interference. Now, does that affect the game? Well, at that moment, yeah, a lot, because it put them in field goal range. But look, the guy is who the guy is. He does fourth quarter thing, and he's pretty good at it.
That's right, yeah. Just going a little bit back on that field goal, I think it was I think they went on fourth. Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, yeah? And I think Tom Brady overruled Byron Leftwich, the OC, on a call, which led to the field goal drive. Right. So that's what I'm talking about. So now, Brady feels more comfortable now to do his own thing. This could be dangerous, guys.
Yeah, and I mean, the Dallas kicker had a disastrous second quarter. I think 2 field missed goals and 1 extra point, and I think that turned out to be the difference at the end. But he made the 48-yarder in the fourth quarter with 3 minutes and 20-something seconds left. And we saw that look by Tom Brady on the bench, and everyone's like, oh boy, we know that look. He's going to come and he's going to deliver. And they ended up winning the game. With regards to the kicker now, there was a headline that the Cowboys have signed another kicker to their practice squad, Lirim Hajrullahu, a Kosovan Canadian.
Brother Hajrullahu, yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of him before, but he's been signed up to the practice squad. So
we know him now.
I don't know. Maybe Zerline is in the hot seat.
Well, they need to put him under pressure. That's all. After the performance last week, they just need to put him under pressure. Not cut him or anything. It's week 1, for goodness sake.
Right.
Just let him know, yeah, we're aware of what's going on. You sort yourself out and everything's good.
My only concern for Dallas, to be honest, is Ezekiel Elliott, because, Dak Prescott looked great. He was accurate. He was passing, but he had to run a few times. And if Ezekiel Elliott doesn't deliver on the running game, Dak will have to do that. And we all know what happens when Dak Prescott starts running a bit too much. He will get hurt, and that will be the downfall of the Cowboys. So I think the running game is a big kind of factor on whether Dallas will become a contender by the end of the season, or if we're just going to see the usual Dallas Cowboys with an 8-9 record or a 9-8 record.
I
think this week is huge for them. I know it's only week 2, but as
they play the LA Chargers, I believe, right?
Yeah, they get I can very well see them being 4-1. To be honest, they've got the Chargers, the Eagles, the Panthers, and the Giants the next 4 weeks. No offense to the Eagles fans.
No, I'm taking that all.
But if you go back to Zeke, even when last year before Dak was hurt, Zeke had his lowest output of his career in those games where they were scoring 38, 39, 40, 41 points and winning games they shouldn't. Those were his lowest yardage outputs of his career on average. So you also have to chalk up a little bit of that to the Tampa run defense. Look, they were really good. I think there was an over-under stat I looked at that was 53 yards on Dak. So they knew that coming in that they were going to be down. I think he'll produce better both against the Chargers and the 3 games after that because of the run defenses. Now, they have another lineman out, I read, for no one knows what it's for other than it's a substance policy. So they get one from COVID back and then one out. I'll be interested to see how that affects them.
And before we move on from this game, Antonio Brown, how crazy was that? He showed out in this game.
Tom Brady's got the weapon.
He's got Godwin. He's got Antonio Brown.
Godwin, exactly. So one last thing
showed out.
Dak.
Gronk showed out.
Oh yeah,
and Gronk, yeah.
Gronk's the guy. Talk about showing out.
And as you said, Mike Evans was only targeted 6 times. So
yeah.
You know, think about when he really spreads it around.
Yeah,
it's going to be tough to defend.
Coach, I love Dallas as much as the next guy who hates Dallas, but is Dak Prescott? You know, if Dallas is going to be a contender, like Mahomes said, is Dak Prescott going to get them there? Because I saw a stat where he's 13-21 on winning teams and about 9-17 on playoff teams. And even in this game, I think they forced over 4 turnovers. Dak had one of the best yards, maybe the second in the league on Sunday. They still lost the game. Can Dak Prescott move Dallas forward? But I mean, can he move it forward? Because you've got doubts about Ezekiel and the rest. So can he move on?
No, but then think about it. I mean, if there was if there was a couple of converted field goals, we won't be having this discussion. We'll be having a different discussion. Anyways, let's move gears to the second game, Cleveland at KC in Arrowhead. And that one was full of drama. I mean, the first half was all Cleveland. And then the second half, it just fell apart, specifically in the fourth quarter. Mayfield is the first Browns quarterback to start 3 straight week 1s since Bernie Kosar in the late 80s, 1986,
what a
I think.
Stat.
Nick Chubb looked really good, 5.5 average yards per carry, 83 yards rushing, 8 receptions. Njoku, Schwartz had 71 and 69 yards, respectively. They were winning 22-10 by the half. What went wrong there, Mark? What happened?
I'm going to look at it the other way. I think what went right for Kansas. I think we're seeing a really resilient Kansas team that a year or so ago would not have won that game. I don't think Cleveland lost it. I think they were put under immense pressure, and Kansas won that through perseverance, through skills, through whatever. They forced the mistakes. They forced the drops. They were playing a really high pressure game. And Mahomes was awesome. And I think the league has to watch out. This week's game against the Ravens is going to be massive. But again, I don't think we should read too much into it, whoever wins. They're not suddenly AFC Super Bowl bound or anything like that. But I saw a resilience in Kansas that I don't think I'd seen before. And that was what impressed me more than anything.
Now, Patrick Mahomes has never lost in September. I think he managed to keep that record going with that win.
Mr. September.
Yeah, and Cleveland haven't won a season opener for about 17 years now, straight. And that's another stat that's out there. I don't know if I agree with you, the fact that, KC won that. I think Cleveland lost it, in my opinion. Mayfield, with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go, with a chance to go up the field, he's been the most accurate quarterback in football in week 1 up until that point. 21 for 28, 321 yards, 1 interception. That wasn't a big deal. And he just made a terrible decision
because of pressure.
That interception.
I just think it was the pressure that had been mounting for the last 3 hours. It was
a lapse in judgment. He tried to force the pass. He could have thrown it away. He could have thrown it out of the field. Because of pressure, I agree. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
And, okay, he's still pretty young and not that experienced in that kind of situation. Kansas have been there. They've done high pressure situations. They can cope with it. And that's what they showed. Cleveland, it's all new for them. The fact that, they were leading for the vast majority of the game and they were playing the better football for a lot of the time. I'm not disagreeing with that. But I do believe it was a result of the pressure and the persistence of Kansas to keep getting into his face. That's what makes him make forced the mistake.
Right. And if there was anyone that was a Kansas City doubter or Patrick Mahomes doubter, he's 22-4 in games where his team doesn't score first. So they're used to coming back from behind. Yeah. They know how to keep calm, collected, and come back from behind. And Patrick Mahomes now has passed Dan Marino for the most pass touchdowns in his first 50 games. 116, I think, was the record. And he just passed that right now. He's got Tyreek Hill, who's the ultimate Swiss knife, 197 yards, 1 touchdown. It was insane. Kelsey it's just a record-breaking game. Kelsey surpassed Jason Witten in the most yards in the first 9 seasons. And for me, I think the focus here for me is the Browns defense. The Browns defense continues to have the right personnel, all the potential in the world, and they continue to underperform. They started with, I think, 2 high safeties, and then dropped to 1 high safety. And you do that in front of Patrick Mahomes, what's going to happen to you?
And Tyreek Hill, just the way Johnson got turned around on that, touchdown pass to Tyreek Hill.
They'll make you pay every single time.
Yeah, and I think so you don't sleep on Casey, yeah.
The turning point was the dropped punt, for sure. I think that took this team out of Cleveland, and they just couldn't keep it up after that.
If you're a Cleveland fan, through the game, you're going to be really optimistic. At the end, you're going to be devastated. By the middle of the week, you're going to think, we've actually got a decent team. We're going to go somewhere. We should have a winning record.
Right.
If I was Cleveland, I'd be, disappointed, but thinking there is so much good that came out of that game. And it's a big learning experience for them all. To be in that high-pressure situation, they're going to need that if they get to the playoffs later on in the year. Or if they get to a game where they've got to win to make the playoffs, they're going to pull on the experience of week 1 and maybe other weeks as well.
Cleveland is just like the Cowboys. They're the if team. They will do great. They will get far if they make that extra play, if their defense holds up for a bit longer. It's always an if with Cleveland and Dallas.
Yeah. I agree.
I think Baker's got the ability. Yeah? He's not one-dimensional. He's got a lot of plays. He does the screens. He does everything. So and they've got the weapons on offense to. I think they'll get somewhere in the AFC.
Yeah. Let's segue now to.
Just one more thing about.
All right, one more.
Just one more thing about Mahomes. It was his ability to adjust when that pass rush comes in, depends on deep or short, is insane. And a lot of D-lines are going to have this huge problem over the season.
Yeah. Okay, let's segue over to Pittsburgh at Buffalo. Buffalo, our Super Bowl pick. What went wrong there, Yujita? I think Big Ben didn't have the greatest game. I mean, he was 18 for 32, only 188 yards and a touchdown. Josh Allen attempted 51 passes, went for 270 yards, 1 touchdown as well. The Bills were up 10-0 at the half. But the second half, the Steelers just came back, and what was that? I mean, the Steelers were my pick for the team to underperform for the season. And again, we said this is where preseason takes go to die, week 1. What do you think? What do you think of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Are they the real deal, or is it just a flash in the pan?
Look, the Pittsburgh defense is the real deal. All right? Look, when Isaiah Thomas, what is this, the NBA podcast? Take control, Mohammed. Isaiah McKenzie, took that opening kickoff to, I think, Pittsburgh 24-25, whatever it was. We thought, okay, there it is. Yeah, Buffalo came to play and they're going to win the Super Bowl. But then we forget that Mike Tomlin's on the sideline for Pittsburgh and he's, hang on tight. And then not only did Buffalo come to play, so did, Cameron Hayward, Marcus Allen, all these guys on the Pittsburgh defense. They came to play, and that's what they did all day long, right? They hurried Josh Allen, they rushed him, and I think Josh Allen, he looked a little uncomfortable. He wasn't really on his feet. He looked flat-footed. He wasn't hitting the targets on the stride, and one of the reasons was Pittsburgh is a team that likes the blitz, and all they did was, I think, about 2 blitz on 54 dropbacks on Allen. So,
TJ Watt showed how excited he was about that new contract.
Rolling in on his $100 million contract. That's what he did, right?
Yeah.
So everybody worked out on the defense, and they really stifled Josh Allen because He couldn't play his natural game. He's good at playing at blitz. He's good at wheeling out, but sometimes it looked like he didn't know what to do. You know.
But let's also not forget about the offense. I mean, there was a certain efficiency to them. I think they scored in the second half on their first 4 possessions. They scored every single time in their first 4 possessions. The Bills couldn't get the ball to their best players. I think there was no passing play above 13
Listen,
yards.
but I mean, Ben, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty at all. I think they had only about 53 yards in the first half. Maybe 3 first downs or something like that. You know, but whatever Mike Tomlin had them smoke in the locker room in the half, it worked because they came out and they did enough of an offense for that defense to give them the win. And again, I think it was maybe 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, the start of the fourth quarter, which was pretty critical. And again, Josh Allen, I think it was 4th and 1. They were going for it. It was tight formation, but he got flat-footed again. He threw it back to Matt Breida. And he did a great job in, not dying because Cam Hayward just cut him off on the legs. And then that led to the, I think it was Najee Harris then ran for a few yards, and it was a touchdown to Deontay Johnson. So, and then there was the punt block, and then it rolled on from there. And that the Pittsburgh defense won this game. Ben didn't look pretty. No ground game at all. Najee Harris ran for like 75 yards. Excellent. And he played all snaps. So, but listen, the Buffalo Bills are going to bounce back. Yeah, this is not.
Are we ready to move on from our Super Bowl picks? Or?
No. We're not. They're not going to score 16 points for the rest of the next 16 weeks. They're not.
Week 1 this year was very similar to week 1 last year for the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. I don't think we should start writing them off or anything.
No, absolutely not.
They were very.
What are your thoughts?
They were very.
Look, I don't think that the play caller for Buffalo did their team any favors in the second half. They really got away from running the football, which if Pittsburgh's defense has an Achilles heel, it's giving up to solid run teams. Even if you only get 2 yards here, 5 yards here, maybe 1 yard here, and you have to punt, at least you're keeping them honest. When you drop your quarterback back 50 times, it's not like Arizona, Tennessee, where they were 30 points behind. I mean, you're talking a field goal here, a field goal there, and they were ahead for most of that. Yeah. So why they didn't at least attempt to run it, punt it, have some field position where you look up and 3 times it's 3rd and 10 and 3rd and 12 and 3rd and 10. And you're throwing it and throwing it and throwing it. So I just don't think that the play caller called a very good game. Now, I don't think Josh Allen played a very good game either when he was given the opportunity, if I'm being truthful. But boy, you got to bring good coaching into this from the other side. Never doubt that Pittsburgh coaching staff. Ever.
Yeah. Absolutely. At your peril.
Yeah. Last week we were talking about Mike Tomlin. Just reminding you.
Right. Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna stick to my guns on that one.
No,
for a little bit.
Listen.
I'm not a believer of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's see. Right. Yeah, we're not gonna sign the Pittsburgh apology letter yet. They've got a lot of work to do. Bring on that ground game. Bring on the O-line. Yeah, then maybe.
Speaking of bad Super Bowl picks, let's segue over to my other Super Bowl pick from the NFC, Green Bay, who were just humiliated at New Orleans. And I can look at Mark smiling there. He's happy.
Can we get the Green Bay expert in here?
It's just terrible. I mean, I don't know what it was. Was it Freaky Friday? Did Jameis Winston and Aaron Rodgers switch bodies before the game? Aaron Rodgers just looking terrible. And I'm not just talking about the fact that he looks like an extra from GTA San Andreas. He actually looked bad playing the game. He was 15 for 28, 133 yards, 2 interceptions. And I think after the second interception, there was no way back. Jameis Winston is the one who's supposed to be throwing the picks. He's supposed to be the one who's indecisive. He's supposed to be the one that's looking terrible. And New Orleans have every reason to play badly in that game. They're replacing Drew Brees. They have 10 new starters. They're displaced from their home
stadium again.
The stadium, and they had to play somewhere else. And they just turned up, and Jameis Winston was on point, 14 for 20, 148 yards, 5 touchdowns with only 148 yards passed. That was insane.
Yes, it is.
What do you guys think of this? I mean, New Orleans play against the Panthers in next week, we should be worried, right? I'm worried.
You should be worried because of what they look like. And we're going to find out in the next 2 or 3 weeks if it was a hiccup for Green Bay, or if it's a mindset that they've got for the season. And so I think Monday night's game against the Lions is huge for Green Bay. I don't think it's huge for Detroit. And Detroit have got a decent record against Green Bay recently. They've beaten them a few times over the last few years. So it's not a gimme. Detroit fought well eventually against San Francisco. They got close, but not close enough.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers, huge question mark. Is he really interested? You know, he didn't look interested on Sunday.
QBR on a scale from 0 to 100, Aaron Rodgers was 4.6 or 4.3.
Yeah.
It was absolutely ridiculous.
He's still on vacation. On vacation.
He looks like it.
He would have had a higher QBR if he just simply passed it off to the running back every time. Fact.
Coach, was LaFleur out-coached by Sean Payton? Was this a coaching, mess up, or was it just players not being ready on the field? And if it's the players not being ready on the field, I'll be honest.
I do think this goes all the way back to OTAs and camp, where there's so much turmoil throughout the early camps back in May and June, with the quarterback skipping. And I've heard and read and seen a lot of things made where that's where you kind of come together, especially if you're trying to repeat good wins or solid wins. That's where you come together. And he wasn't there. And there were a few others that weren't there because he wasn't there. And so I think there are some issues in that locker room. Were they out-coached? I can't say that, to be honest. I looked at a few of the plays, not huge, but I looked at a few of the plays. He had open receivers. He had open maybe progression 2, progression 3 looks and didn't take them.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it was a coaching thing. However, man, Sean Payton can coach offense. If you can put Jameis Winston in the right side and where to put the ball, you can coach. Because I didn't think he was coachable, honestly. So, no, I don't think it was coaching.
Okay. Is this the first of many blowouts that we see Green Bay suffer, or is it just I can see Mark just They're
going to get blown out week 6, so we know that. But it's possible to read too much into one game. And I think we can say that about every team across the league. That's why I think Monday is huge for them. I really do.
Aaron Rodgers went on the Pat McAfee show, and he was also in his press conferences, and he almost said the word that he said a few years ago, relax. He's like, this is just one game. Brush it off. We had a bad off season, so let's regroup and come back at it. All right.
But I think Jamias, I mean, you got to give him credit, right? He went from, finger licking guy,
Jameis, yes,
to looking like a real quarterback that Sean can work with. He didn't do 148 yards and he still won the game with 5 touchdowns. So some discipline is there. Decision making is there. This is not the Jameis Winston of the past.
But he's had a year of Sean Payton and Drew Brees. I really think that the year he had doing nothing publicly has done him the world of good.
That worked out for him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So far. Let's see what he's like under pressure.
Okay, now in 30 seconds or less, and I think, Mark, you're going to need a little bit more than 30 seconds. How did your teams do? What is your kind of preview and how your teams did in week 1? Let's start with the Chicago Bears.
Awful. There's so much fuss about Justin Fields and why he's not playing and so on and so forth. You've got to look at the defense, first of all, were abysmal, absolutely abysmal. The secondary was shocking. They need to sort that out really quickly. On offense, the O-line did all right. I'm not really complaining about the O-line. Play calling, you can say, is very suspect. No throws over 15 yards or anything like that, which is abysmal.
Attempted throws over 15 yards.
If Fields was playing, there were wide receivers open that he would have passed to. Andy Dalton didn't. And that's the difference between the two. So Andy Dalton's up against Cincinnati this weekend. maybe that will be the last time he starts for the Bears.
You think he starts this week as well?
If I think he does. I think that maybe Justin Fields could be in for early third quarter.
And could be a 2 QB system in Chicago. Could it be?
Well, they gave Fields 5 opportunities on Sunday, and he got a touchdown with one and completions with others. He did everything that was asked from him in 5 plays. I'm not going to read too much into that, but it's not a case of if he starts, it's when he starts. The longer Matt Nagy leaves it, the more pressure he's going to be under from fans. If Field starts and the Bears lose, I think we're prepared for that. What we're not prepared for is to see him sitting on the bench doing nothing as the team loses.
Yeah. So. Coach, Houston, they looked unbelievable. I don't know if the masseuses made them nimble and nice and ready to go for the season. But
it was definitely a happy ending for them that week.
That was an incredible... I think the shock of the week was the Houston Texans looking as good as they did.
It was my shock of the week. I maybe my expectations were so low that I would have been happy with maybe how Chicago looked, but for them to look as good as they actually did, I knew Tyrod Taylor was a gamer. Everywhere he's been a gamer. He hadn't had quite a few weapons around him. But I don't want, as Mark said, you can say a lot of things about a lot of teams in week 1. I don't want to be overly happy because I think Jacksonville is also at the bottom of the barrel. I don't think they're good offensively. I don't think they're good defensively. I personally don't think they're well coached.
Do they have a Chip Kelly on their hands, a college guy that's not ready for the NFL?
Hey, I can see that. They were definitely not prepared as I expected them to be, especially with the second Messiah coming of the quarterback, Mr. Lawrence, hair and all. They didn't put him in good positions. I mean, can you imagine if you flipped that and put that quarterback in New Orleans with putting position, giving them the right look, getting the right matchups? They just didn't look good, but my Texans did. Way to go. Defense looked good too. We'll take it.
Excellent. Yujita, your Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh man,
was it a bad opposition? Could you learn a lot from that game?
Hold on. Future is so bright. I gotta wear shades. Yeah, I know it hurts.
We can see your halo now.
It hurts so bad. Yeah, it hurts. All right, that's the cringe section of the podcast. Over.
32-6.
32-6. Look, the reason why the Eagles won this game is because they dominated the scrimmage line on both sides. Offensive line, defensive line. Hurts played well. Yeah, he got 264 yards, 27-35, 3 touchdowns. He was allowed to be himself. So he could do whatever he wanted. Yeah, he hit his targets. And if you see the first few offensive plays, they were bubble screen. So he got to do all of this stuff, and they let him do it. He's got probably the best tight end duo in NFC. I don't know. Yeah, at least Goddard and Ertz. He targeted them, but again, it was the defense, the O-line, defensive line, which has been, these guys have been together for a while. They know each other, so they really shut down Matt Ryan, and we saw that in the first 2 drives of the Falcons. The first drive marched right up to the red zone, and we thought, this is what the Eagles are all about. But amazing stops at the red zone on defense, kept repeating it, and then the offense came through at the end. But it was all about controlling the line, and they did it well. And I'm happy. I know what you're going to say. It's week 1, it's the Falcons defense, but forget about the Falcons. I'm just looking at what the Eagles did right and did wrong. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. Yeah. What did they do right? What did they do?
It was a great win.
I'm looking at.
It was a great win.
I could relate.
Fantastic.
With my Carolina Panthers playing against the Jets, I don't think I learned a lot from that game other than Christian McCaffrey's still a beast and he's going to carry the team on his back. And we have a good linebacker in Shaq Thompson who is going to cause some problems for opponents this year. I think McCaffrey, 98 yards and 21 carries. Sam Darnold looked okay, but I need to see more. 24 for 35, 279 yards, 1 touchdown. And you guys made sure that I don't enjoy that game, because every time I was happy about a touchdown or an interception or a play, you reminded me that we're playing against the Jets.
It's only
so all you need to do is get the win. It's a bit concerning that we couldn't score more than 20 points. It was 19-14 at the end, that we couldn't score more on offense. So let's see. I'm a bit skeptical. We've got the New Orleans Saints, and that's going to be a real test.
I think Sam Darnold was okay. I think he had a rating of 102, I think something like that. So he wasn't all bad.
It wasn't bad, but I need to see more. I'm a bit of a skeptic still. I need to see more. All right.
Hey,
next
I got
week.
coach quote for you real quick. For everyone, good teams beat the teams they're supposed to. They win the games they're supposed to, and great teams win a few they aren't.
Yeah.
Right.
Great coach quote.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If we beat New Orleans, I think that would be one of in the second category, right? I think.
Yeah, and you won. You're supposed to beat the Jets.
And you
Yes.
did.
Philly's supposed to beat Atlanta.
Right.
Really.
Oh, really? Philly was supposed to beat what was the spread? 3.5
They
for
should
the
beat
Falcons.
Atlanta.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Beat Atlanta, and then great teams. Chicago, I don't.
Chicago
think
should have
they
been
lost
shut
the
down,
game.
shut out.
Yeah. So good.
All right. So let's do a quick preview of week 2. Each one of you pick one game that you're looking forward to the most, other than obviously your teams, Chicago. Mark, what's the game that you're going to be focusing on?
I've already mentioned it. I think Green Bay hosting Detroit on Monday night. I think that's going to be a really, really interesting game. Detroit looked up for it by the end of the game. I'm not a big fan of their coach, Campbell. I think he's a bit crazy, but he's going to get them wound up for Monday night. If he smells blood, he's going to go for it. I think it's a much, much bigger game for Green Bay than it is for Detroit.
Yeah.
And it's a very big game for Aaron Rodgers, because if he starts playing as bad as he did last Sunday in front of his home crowd, they're not going to be very happy. If you look at the public responses from Green Bay fans last weekend, it was get rid of him, do this, do that. I know it's all emotional straight after the game, but he could lose a lot of goodwill if he looks disinterested. His body language is going to be important. His demeanor, his whole ability is going to be up there on the biggest pedestal for him so far in his Green Bay tenure. So I think he's under the microscope. I think the whole Green Bay offense is under the microscope.
I think it's going to be a close game too. Coach, what's the game that you're going to be watching?
Hey, I went Tennessee-Seattle this week. I felt like we saw a pretty good blueprint on how to beat Tennessee, especially with them being my Super Bowl pick and many other playoff people picking them to be in the playoffs. I think as Derrick Henry goes, so goes Tennessee. And my worry for them is I think that their best offensive weapon from last year is in Atlanta, and that being their offensive coordinator. I really believe he knew how to get their offensive line in good spots where they could run the ball solid. And I believe what I saw against Arizona. Now, again, Arizona jumped out to a huge lead. And look, if Seattle does the same thing, I think Seattle did the same thing to Indy, where they were 21 points in the first half. So if that happens, I think Tennessee could be 0-2. But at the end of the day, give the big guy the rock and see if he can dig you out of the hole. And they did not do that on Sunday. And I believe if the old OC was still there, they would have. So I'm interested to see that.
Ujita, what's the game that you're going to be watching?
I took KC Baltimore because that's kind of the pick we had for the AFC Championship game starting out.
I can't decide which way this one is going to go. I looked at
that's
it
what I'm saying.
It
could still be. It could still be. I'm not counting Baltimore out completely because they've had their issues. They haven't got their running backs are injured. Marcus Peters is out. They got Tyree Phillip the other day. He got injured as well. But Lamar was like a workhorse. He tried to do everything he could, and I think Baltimore could get back into that somehow. I have this feeling. And KC, well, they don't lose in September, like you said, So KC will probably take this game, but I'm more interested to see how Baltimore comes back with all these odds against them. Yeah, with the injuries, with the short week, with KC, they're going over to KC. So I'm just interested to see how Baltimore comes back in this. But it'll be a KC win in the end.
Yeah. For me, I'm looking at the Raiders at Pittsburgh. I think I took a stance on Pittsburgh. I'm doubling down on it today. I need to see it. And I think the Raiders are the right team to expose Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has a good defense. Their offense is not great, but the Raiders showed out. Darren Waller targeted 19 times, 105 yards, 10 completions. Derek Carr had 435 yards. He's able to
top the week.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 1 fumble. They've got weapons like Brian Edwards and Hunter Renfrow. Max Crosby on defense. Max with 2 X's had 2 sacks. I think the Raiders are the right team. They've got a good defense as well. 36% on third down efficiency. I think that could improve. But Big Ben in his career is 2-5 against the Raiders, and he's always struggled against them. So I'm really looking forward to this game. Let's see how it goes. I think we might pick one or two of these games that we've mentioned now in our Pick Six segment on Saturday nights. Let's see.
Oh, what do we got on Saturday night?
We'll keep it for a surprise. And the results of the picks. I think our resident expert is.
I think we should expose it now.
Let's keep that for Saturday night. I think we can end it there. Thanks, guys. I think this was an exciting week. We could have gone on forever, but let's see what week 2 brings. Pick Six segment coming up on Saturday night, and the usual episode on Thursday evening. This has been Sports Unhinged. Peace out.
See you later.
Thanks, Mohammed.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Bye. Bye.